Either pay for my brother's college or we're done. That's the bare minimum a real man does. Her words hit me like a slap across the face. My fork froze halfway to my mouth as her parents nodded, smiling like they fully approved of the ultimatum she had just dropped on me in front of everyone. I stared at her, stunned. This wasn't a joke. She was dead serious. The entire room seemed to fall quiet, except for the clinking of cutlery from her little cousins at the kids' table. I felt my chest tighten. Was this really happening? At a family dinner, surrounded by her parents, her siblings, and her extended relatives, she decided to humiliate me by framing me as a fake man if I didn't fund her brother's education. I glanced around the table. Her dad gave me this approving nod, like he expected me to jump up and declare, "Of course, I'll pay for everything." Her mom just kept sipping her wine, smirking as if the matter was already settled. And my girlfriend? She leaned back in her chair, smug, waiting for me to open my wallet. In that moment, I realized something chilling. To her, I wasn't a partner. I wasn't even a person. I was just a bank account she could use whenever she wanted. I didn't argue. I didn't make a scene. I just smiled politely, put down my fork, and stood up. Without a word, I walked out of that house, leaving behind the stunned silence of an entire family who thought they could corner me. 2 weeks later, she found out where my money really went. And it wasn't to her brother. When I first met Anna, she was everything I thought I wanted. Beautiful, charming, the kind of girl who could walk into a crowded room and make everyone turn their head. I met her through a mutual friend at a birthday party, and I remember she laughed at my terrible jokes like they were the funniest things she'd ever heard. For months, it felt like I was in a dream. She'd text me good morning every day, she'd cook me little meals when I came home from work, she even surprised me with notes in my car. I told myself I was lucky. Maybe even blessed. We had been dating for almost 2 years when the cracks started showing. At first, it was small things. She'd start asking me to help out her family with bills here and there. Gas money for her dad, groceries for her mom, a little cash to help her younger brother with textbooks. I didn't mind, not really. I grew up believing relationships were about supporting each other, and if her family needed help, I figured I could pitch in. But what started as small requests turned into expectations. The change was slow, almost sneaky. She'd pout when I said no. She'd make little digs about how a real man wouldn't let his girlfriend's family struggle. The first time she said that, I brushed it off, thinking she was just stressed. But it kept coming up, again and again, until it felt like a weapon she was sharpening every time she didn't get her way. Looking back, I can see it clearly now. She was testing boundaries. And every time I gave in, I made it easier for her to push further the next time. Soon, I wasn't just helping with little things. I was covering bigger expenses. I paid for her car repair when she blew out her transmission. I covered her dad's overdue utility bill one winter when he forgot to pay. I even helped her mom with a dentist bill. None of these things bankrupted me, but the entitlement behind them grew heavier each time. What really set off alarm bells was how her family reacted. They never said thank you, not once. It wasn't gratitude. It was expectation. The way they looked at me started to change. Like I wasn't just Anna's boyfriend, I was some sort of financial safety net. If I said yes, they smiled like that was the natural order of things. If I hesitated, they looked at me like I was selfish or weak. I still tried to convince myself that Anna loved me, that this was just part of being with someone whose family was struggling. But then she started making comments about her brother's future. He was 17, not great at school, but talking about college like it was a guarantee. And every time it came up, her parents would glance at me. Almost like they were grooming me for the role they expected me to play. By the time that family dinner rolled around, the truth was already sitting in my gut. I just didn't want to face it. But when Anna smiled sweetly, looked me in the eyes, and said those words, "Either pay for my brother's college or we're done," I knew exactly who I was to her. Not a boyfriend. Not a partner. Just a paycheck with a face. After that family dinner, things didn't just feel tense. They felt wrong. I couldn't shake the image of Anna's smug smile while her parents backed her up. The words kept replaying in my head. But what bothered me even more was what came after. She didn't even call me that night. No. Are you okay? No. Let's talk. Nothing. When I finally reached out the next day, she acted like nothing had happened. Like her ultimatum was a normal thing couples discuss over dinner. She laughed it off, saying I was overreacting, and that she was just being practical. Her tone was so casual, almost dismissive, and it left me rattled. Then came the little things. The first red flag was her phone. Anna used to leave it lying around, face up on the coffee table or next to me on the couch. Suddenly, it was glued to her hand or flipped face down whenever she set it down. She added a new password, too. One night I asked, half joking, "What are you hiding?" She laughed, but it wasn't her usual laugh. It was sharp, almost defensive. "Don't be paranoid," she snapped, then immediately changed the subject. She also started going out more. At first it was girls' nights. Then it became study sessions with her brother, though he'd text me separately asking for rides during the same time she claimed to be with him. When I pointed that out, she brushed it off with some excuse about last-minute changes. I wanted to believe her, but the knot in my stomach grew tighter. Her attitude toward me shifted, too. Where she used to be affectionate, she became colder. Kisses felt like obligations. Conversations turned into lectures about money, responsibility, or her family's needs. It was like she was constantly testing me, pushing me to see how much I was willing to do before breaking. And whenever I tried to bring up my feelings, she'd roll her eyes and call me dramatic. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was losing her or if I had already lost her a long time ago. My friends noticed I was distracted, quieter than usual. When they asked, I brushed it off with a laugh, telling them I was just stressed with work. Deep down, though, I was drowning in doubt. One memory sticks out clear as day. I had come over to her house unannounced, something I used to do all the time. When I walked in, she jumped like I'd caught her stealing. Her phone was in her hand, and she shoved it into her pocket so fast it was almost clumsy. "Why didn't you text first?" she demanded, her voice sharp. That wasn't the Anna I knew. The Anna I fell for would have run up, hugged me, maybe teased me for surprising her. Instead, she looked cornered. I told myself I was imagining things. That stress was making me paranoid. But denial only worked for so long. Every new red flag added to the weight in my chest. Something was going on. I just didn't know what. And when people start hiding, lying, and acting like you're disposable, the truth always finds a way to show itself. I reached a point where the unease was eating me alive. Every little thing she did felt suspicious, but I hated feeling like I was losing my mind. I kept telling myself, if there's nothing going on, I'll find out and finally be able to breathe again. That was the justification I used when I decided to dig deeper. It started small. I noticed she always had her phone face down, so one night when she left it charging in the kitchen while she showered, I took my chance. My hands were shaking as I picked it up. But the screen locked instantly, and the new password was impossible to guess. That's when I knew she was deliberately hiding something. The Anna I met never even had a passcode. After that, I started paying closer attention. When she said she was out with her girlfriends, I'd check their Instagram stories. Most of the time, they weren't even with her. One night, she told me she was babysitting her cousin, but I drove by her cousin's house just to ease my own doubts. No car in the driveway. No lights on. My stomach twisted. The more lies piled up, the less sleep I got. I was becoming obsessed. Then one afternoon, I got the break I didn't know I was waiting for. Her younger brother, yes, the same one I was supposedly expected to pay college tuition for, made a slip. He mentioned Anna being at that nice restaurant last night with that guy. My blood ran cold. I kept my face neutral, pretending I already knew. But inside, everything collapsed. That night, I decided I needed proof. If she was cheating, or whatever it was, I needed to see it with my own eyes. So when she told me she was going to a late study group, I followed her. I parked down the street and waited, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would crack my ribs. She didn't go to campus. She didn't even go near her friends' houses. Instead, she pulled into an upscale restaurant downtown, the kind of place we'd only go to on anniversaries. I watched from my car as she got out, dressed to kill, heels clicking on the pavement. A man was already waiting for her outside. He leaned in, kissed her cheek, and she smiled the smile I thought belonged to me. I sat there frozen, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. I wanted to storm in, scream, demand answers, but I forced myself to wait. They went inside, and through the window I saw them laughing, leaning close, his hand brushing hers across the table. Everything inside me screamed betrayal. By the time she walked out with him 2 hours later, my decision was made. I stepped out of my car and called her name. The look on her face when she saw me was pure shock. She stammered, wide-eyed, "What are you doing here?" I looked at her, then at him, then back at her. My voice came out steady, colder than I thought possible. "Funny. I was about to ask you the same thing." The silence after my words was deafening. The guy she was with looked between us, confused, clearly not expecting drama. Anna's eyes darted around like a trapped animal. She forced a laugh, trying to play it cool. "Oh my God, this isn't what it looks like," she said, stepping forward, her voice wobbling. This is just a friend. You're overreacting." I let out a sharp breath, almost a laugh, but it wasn't funny. Not even close. "A friend who kisses you on the cheek and takes you to 5-star restaurants. That's interesting. My friends must have been doing friendship wrong all these years." The guy raised his hands. "Look, I didn't know she had a boyfriend." He backed away quickly, muttering an apology before practically jogging to his car. That left just me and Anna standing under the streetlight, the weight of her lies finally exposed. She turned on me then, angry, like I was the one who did something wrong. "You followed me? Do you hear how crazy that sounds? Do you even trust me at all?" I stared at her in disbelief. "Trust? You've been lying to me for months. You hide your phone, you sneak around, and now I catch you on a date with another guy, and you're talking to me about trust?" My voice cracked on the last word, rage and heartbreak colliding inside me. Her expression hardened. "You know what? Maybe if you were more of a man, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere. My family needed help. My brother needs college paid for. You couldn't step up. What am I supposed to do, stay with someone who won't even provide the basics?" That did it. Something inside me snapped. All the manipulation, all the guilt-tripping, all the time she made me feel small for not giving enough, it all boiled over. I took a step closer, looked her straight in the eyes, and said the line that had been burning in my chest since that dinner. "I'm not your boyfriend, Anna. I was just your ATM with a heartbeat." She flinched. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. The silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. "I loved you," I said, my voice low but steady. "But love doesn't mean selling yourself out to be used. You didn't want a partner. You wanted a paycheck. And now? You've lost both." I turned, walked toward my car, and didn't look back. Behind me, I heard her call my name, her voice cracking, but I kept walking. Every step felt heavier and lighter at the same time, like I was finally breaking free of chains I hadn't realized were strangling me. When I got in my car, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, gripping the wheel, feeling the hollow ache in my chest. Part of me still wanted her to chase after me, to apologize, to beg. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't change anything. She'd already shown me who she was. And I finally believed her. The days after that night felt like walking through smoke. I'd wake up with this heaviness in my chest, still expecting her good morning texts, still half waiting for my phone to buzz with some desperate apology. But the apology never came. Instead, I heard through a mutual friend that she was telling people I abandoned her family when they needed me most. That I wasn't a real man. At first, it made my blood boil. I wanted to defend myself, to tell everyone what I had seen with my own eyes, to shout about her lies and her betrayal. But then I realized something. The people who mattered didn't need convincing. My real friends, the ones who had watched me bend over backward for her, already knew the truth. And the people who believed her? They were never really on my side to begin with. I thought a lot about money in those weeks. How it twists relationships, how it can reveal who someone really is. Love isn't a transaction. It isn't a list of invoices and bills. Love is showing up when times are hard, yes, but it's also respect, appreciation, sacrifice. She never gave me that. She just saw what she could take. And that's when I finally felt grateful for one choice I had made. Because she thought she was playing me, lining me up to fund her brother's future, treating me like a wallet with legs. But the truth was, I had been quietly saving for something else. For someone else. My little sister. She's 3 years younger than me, the first in our family to get into college. She worked herself to the bone in high school, and I promised her I'd do everything I could to make sure money didn't stand in the way of her dreams. Every extra shift, every budget cut, every dollar I'd been putting aside, it wasn't for Anna's brother. It was for my sister's tuition. 2 weeks after that dinner, while Anna was still spinning her story about me being a coward, my sister called me crying with joy. Her first semester was fully paid. Books, housing, everything. I'd made the payment in full. And the relief in her voice, the gratitude, it was worth more than anything I had wasted on Anna's family. That was the twist Anna never saw coming. She thought she had me cornered, ready to bleed me dry. But in reality, I had already chosen who deserved my help. My sister, who never asked but always appreciated. My family, who never once made me feel like my worth was tied to my wallet. Looking back now, I don't regret walking out that night. I don't regret catching her in the act, or even the heartbreak that followed. Because it taught me something I'll never forget. The wrong person will drain you and call it love, but the right people, the ones who truly care, will never ask you to destroy yourself just to prove your worth. And the next time someone looks me in the eye and tells me, a real man would do this, I'll smile, just like I did that night at dinner. Only this time, it won't be out of shock. It'll be because I know better. Because a real man doesn't buy love. A real man knows where his love, his time, and his money truly belong. And mine went exactly where it was always meant to.